What does the UK offer to its permanent residents or citizens? A right to judge others. A right to join in the election of a government. Free access to all national museums. A discount in taxes. A right to join in the election of a government is the correct answer. The UK offers a range of benefits to its permanent residents or citizens, including access to healthcare, education, employment opportunities, the right to vote, the ability to apply for a passport, and consular assistance when travelling abroad. However, specific requirements and conditions may need to be met in order to access certain benefits. Which of the following is not a fundamental principle of British life? Tolerance of those with different faiths and beliefs. The rule of law. Autocracy. Or democracy. The correct answer is autocracy. Autocracy, which is the rule by a single individual with unlimited power, is not a fundamental principle of British life. Which of the following sentences is true? Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland also have parliaments or assemblies of their own, with devolved powers in defined areas. Scotland and Wales have parliaments or assemblies of their own, but not Northern Ireland. The UK is governed by the Parliament sitting in Edinburgh. The UK is governed by the Parliament sitting in Glasgow. The true sentence is, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland have parliaments or assemblies of their own, with devolved powers in defined areas. Explanation: Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are part of the UK but have their own devolved governments with varying degrees of power. These governments are responsible for making decisions on certain matters within their respective countries. The UK Parliament is not based in Edinburgh or Glasgow but is responsible for governing the whole of the UK. As part of the citizenship ceremony, new citizens pledge their loyalty to the United Kingdom and to respect its rights and freedoms. True or false? True. During the citizenship ceremony, new citizens pledge to be loyal to the UK and uphold its values and laws. This includes respecting the rights and freedoms of others in the UK. Which of the following lines does not form part of the citizenship pledge? I will give my loyalty to the United Kingdom. I will uphold its democratic values. Long live our noble Queen. I will observe its laws faithfully. Explanation: the citizenship pledge includes promising to be loyal to the UK, upholding its democratic values, and faithfully observing its laws. The line, "Long live our noble Queen," is not part of the official pledge, although new citizens may choose to include it as a personal expression of their loyalty to the monarchy. British values and principles are based on history and traditions and are protected by law, customs, and expectations. True or false? Explanation: British values and principles, such as democracy, the rule of law, and individual liberty, are based on historical and traditional practices and are enshrined in law. These values are upheld through customs and social expectations, as well as legal protections. Which of the following are Crown dependencies? Ireland and Malta. The Maldives and Anglesey. The Isle of Man and the Channel Islands. The Isle of Wight and Northern Ireland. The Crown dependencies are the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands. Explanation: the Crown dependencies are self-governing territories that are not part of the UK, but are under the jurisdiction of the British Crown. They include the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands, which consist of Jersey, Guernsey, Alderney, and Sark. They have their own governments and laws, but the UK is responsible for their defence and international relations. Which two islands are closely linked to the UK but are not part of it? The Isle of Man, Malta, the Channel Islands, Fiji. The Crown dependencies are the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands. Explanation: the Crown dependencies are self-governing territories that are not part of the UK, but are under the jurisdiction of the British Crown. They include the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands, which consist of Jersey, Guernsey, Alderney, and Sark. They have their own governments and laws, but the UK is responsible for their defence and international relations. The Isle of Man is a Crown dependency. True or false? The Isle of Man is a self-governing territory that is not part of the UK, but is under the jurisdiction of the British Crown as a Crown dependency. It has its own government and laws, but the UK is responsible for its defence and international relations. What does the UK offer to its residents or citizens? Freedom of belief and religion. Freedom of speech. Freedom from unfair discrimination. A right to a fair trial. A right to join in the election of a government. The UK offers its residents and citizens a range of fundamental rights and freedoms, including freedom of belief and religion, freedom of speech, freedom from unfair discrimination, the right to a fair trial, and the right to participate in democratic processes such as elections. These rights and freedoms are protected by law and form an important part of the UK's democratic society. What do you need to apply to become a permanent resident or citizen of the UK? Choose two options. A British driving licence. To be able to speak and read English. A British university degree. A good understanding of life in the UK. To apply for permanent residency or citizenship in the UK, you need to have a good understanding of life in the UK and be able to speak and read English. A British driving licence or university degree is not required for the application process. It's important to note that the application process can be complex and requirements may vary depending on individual circumstances. Which of the following is a fundamental principle of life in the UK? Intolerance of those with different beliefs. Individual liberty. Rule of men. Lack of social cohesion. Individual liberty is a fundamental principle of life in the UK. It refers to the idea that individuals have the right to live their lives as they choose, as long as they do not harm others or break the law. This principle is closely linked to other important values such as freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to privacy. It is considered a core value in the UK's democratic society. The other options listed, intolerance of those with different beliefs, rule of men, and lack of social cohesion, are not fundamental principles of life in the UK. Which two of the following responsibilities will you have as a permanent resident or citizen of the UK? To respect and obey the law. To go to church on Sundays. To look after the area in which you live and the environment. To do the military service. The two responsibilities of a permanent resident or citizen of the UK are to respect and obey the law and to look after the area in which you live and the environment. There is no obligation to do military service or go to church on Sundays. Participation in community life is a fundamental principle of British life. True or false? The answer is true. Community participation is a fundamental principle of British life. To look after yourself and your family is one of the responsibilities that you will have as a permanent resident or citizen of the UK. True or false? The answer is true. As a resident or citizen, it is your responsibility to take care of yourself and your family. In which of the following languages is the Life in the UK test not available? English, Scottish Gaelic, French, Welsh. The right answer is French. The Life in the UK test is available in English, Welsh, and Scottish Gaelic. Which of the following statements is true? To apply to become a permanent resident or citizen of the UK, you will need to have a university degree. To apply to become a permanent resident or citizen of the UK, you will need to have a good understanding of life in the UK. To apply to become a permanent resident or citizen of the UK, you will need to have British relatives. To apply to become a permanent resident or citizen of the UK, you will need to have knowledge of the British laws. The correct answer is, to apply to become a permanent resident or citizen of the UK, you will need to have a good understanding of life in the UK. To become a permanent resident or citizen of the UK, applicants are required to pass the Life in the UK test, which assesses their knowledge of British traditions, customs, laws, and values. The test is designed to ensure that applicants have a good understanding of life in the UK, and is a requirement for anyone aged 18 to 65 who is seeking indefinite leave to remain or British citizenship. Having a university degree or British relatives is not a requirement for the application process. Which two of the following are fundamental principles of British life? Tolerance of those with different faiths and beliefs. Buying food from local business. The rule of law. Doing the military service. The correct answer is tolerance of those with different faiths and beliefs, and the rule of law. These two principles are fundamental to British life and are emphasized in the Life in the UK test. Tolerance of those with different faiths and beliefs means that individuals are free to practice their religion or belief without fear of discrimination or persecution. The rule of law means that everyone is equal before the law and the law applies to everyone, regardless of their background, status, or wealth. Buying food from local businesses and doing military service are not fundamental principles of British life. What does the UK offer in return to its residents or citizens? Free undergraduate tuition fees. A right to a fair trial. VIP tickets for local events. Free parking across the country. The UK offers its residents or citizens a right to a fair trial, but does not provide free undergraduate tuition fees, VIP tickets for local events, or free parking across the country. Which of the following territories does not belong to Great Britain? Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, England. The right answer is Northern Ireland. Great Britain refers only to England, Scotland, and Wales. However, the United Kingdom includes Northern Ireland along with those three countries. Which two of the following islands are known as Crown dependencies? The Isle of Man, Ceylon, the Channel Islands, Ireland. The two islands that are known as Crown dependencies are the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands. Crown dependencies are self-governing territories that are dependencies of the British Crown but are not part of the United Kingdom. Where is the Parliament of the UK located? In Manchester. In Westminster. In Windsor Castle. In Buckingham Palace. The Parliament of the UK is located in Westminster. It is also commonly known as the Palace of Westminster, and it houses both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The iconic clock tower attached to the palace, known as Big Ben, is a famous landmark of London and the UK. Which of the following are British overseas territories? St. Helena, Ireland. The Falkland Islands. The Canary Islands. The right answer is St. Helena and the Falkland Islands. British overseas territories are territories under the jurisdiction and sovereignty of the UK government, but they are not part of the UK itself. St. Helena and the Falkland Islands are both British overseas territories, while Ireland and the Canary Islands are not. St. Helena is a British overseas territory. True or false? True. St. Helena is a remote island in the South Atlantic Ocean and is one of the 14 British overseas territories. It is a self-governing overseas territory of the UK, with its own constitution and legislative council. The island is home to around 4,500 people and its capital city is Jamestown.